Hi, welcome back. This is David Fleming. You're here for another HOPE digital literacy training. This will be their second day working with Google Docs. I look forward to this. I'm going to keep you plenty busy today. We're going to get busy. We're going to do a lot of typing. I'm going to get you highly familiar with proper formatting ideas. I'm introducing a lot of concepts. So I hope you're ready to work. Reminding you a little bit where we left off yesterday or the day before, the previous video. We worked on some basic ideas about what files were, software, what a Google Doc is, some basic concepts of how Google Docs works. I gave you a lot of the tools. I taught you how to edit and change things, stylize, and some basic concepts like that. So that was the main project, and it was a good lesson. Hopefully that was beneficial to you. This next lesson is going to go further. And so we're going to create some files. We're going to do some work. I'm going to teach you how to write professionally and definitely introduce many more concepts for you to think about and to work with. So the first thing to do is to get back to your drive, of course, because this is what it looks like to you. You're watching a video, and I know your email's open, so I'd like you to go to your email and open up your drive. So I'll go through the same steps as you. Here's my email. Where's my drive? My drive is one of the services that Google provides. That's the app button over here. I call it the checkerboard. Click on your app button and you go to your drive. So please do that if you haven't done that already. I'd like you to do it that way because you'll see what I'm seeing. All right, so as you go through these steps, always remember the techniques that are available to you for watching a video and doing work. You have the ability to pause. You now know a little bit about how you can even split the screen. That's an idea. You can try that, and you can also just flip between the tabs, and that's how you can work. All right, so here you are in your drive, and if we're going to do work with HOPE, I am assuming you now know that you have a folder for that. That's the shared folder that has your name with the HOPE Class 277, whatever class you're in. So go ahead and open that up, please. So double click. Some of you may be getting used to the double click, but that's how you open things. And then this is all going to be computer training. So which folder do you open? Computer training. Please do that. And this is going to still be work with Google Docs. So this is a Google Docs lesson. So please go ahead and open up Google Docs lessons. Now here is the file I assume you still have in your folder. And I am very much hoping that you did the work on it yesterday that I walked you through during the video. So I want you to picture the idea of what might be in that file called your first GDocs lesson plan. So here you are in your GDocs folder, which was in your training folder. This is a file, which we talked about. This is a file, Google Docs file. That's what that symbol is. And the name of it is your first GDocs lesson plan. Now, I don't know if you remember this or not, but do you remember that that was not the original name for the file? The original name was copy of your first GDocs lesson plan. Why did it change? How did it change? Perhaps you'll remember that I had you change it. You changed it when you opened it, because you can do that. You can always rename a file if you need to. All right, and I've taught you right click. I'll show you one little side note. Right click is the click that always gives you a list of things you can do where you've clicked. And in this case, I clicked in the open space. So these are the things I can do in the open space, which is generally speaking, either bring new files in or create new files. But if you right click on something, I did a normal left click. I'm going to stay on this file. If you do a right click on something, notice you get an entire different list, because now you're right clicking on something, in this case a file. So these are all things you can do with this list, which is what a right click always does. I'd like you to try that. And notice, among many other things, we'll talk more about sharing later. You can share this document with somebody else, and that would be, you would share it and enter somebody's email address, and then they would be able to see and work on the same document that you are. You have the ability to move this file to another place. And here's what I meant to come into, that you also have the ability to rename it. So if you had wanted to rename it, even from here, you could. If I clicked on rename it'll just ask me, what would you like to rename it? And you can rename your file anytime. I just wanted to point that out. I am not going to do that, but that's not how you renamed it. You renamed it from the open file. So I'd like you to open it one more time. Go back into that file. I'm assuming you did the work. And so what I'm assuming when you open that file that we worked on yesterday or the day before is that you will see the results of your work. Your name is all styled up. It's got some flair. It's been moved around. It wasn't there in the beginning. Who put that there? Obviously you did. Why is it there now? It's there now because the document had been saved as you worked, and so therefore it is as you left it, which means you could change it, couldn't you? So that's always something to keep in mind about any kind of file. As I always say, it's a project in progress. If you wanted to make a change, if you wanted to try a different color, you could. If you wanted to try a different style, you could. If you wanted to add something, if you wanted to erase something, a file is always there for you to update or alter and change or keep working on anytime you need to, which is the whole idea about projects or files. So that's one of the reasons I wanted you to open the file, is for you to keep that in mind. So, all right, what if you wanted to change the color? You could do that, but what if, here's the first concept I wanted to introduce to you today. What if you were interested in trying a different style, even though you really liked what you had? What if you wanted to see what it would look like with a different color and a different style of font? And the style is now, you'll know the style when you click in your name. I chose something called E.B. Garamond or something. That is the name of the style. And I did a lot of other things to make my name look like it is. I added color to the letter. I added color to the background. So here's my point. Obviously, you can change it now if you wanted to. If you wanted to change it, you would highlight it and try different colors, try different sizes, try different styles. You could do that right now. It's the same thing you did yesterday. But here's the scenario I want you to think about. What if you really liked the way it looked, but you wanted to try something different to see if it would be better, or if you wanted to have it look a different way, but you weren't sure a new color or a new style would really work? You see, if you highlighted it right now, highlight, and made the change, what if you didn't like it? What if you liked the original style better? And you tried a few different colors, and you tried a few different styles, and then you decided, you know what? It was better the way it was before. So you kind of got a problem then, because it would be hard to recreate that. It's not impossible, but it would be difficult. You'd already have lost what you had. So I want to introduce a concept where you would be able to try a new color, a new style, or try anything new in this document without losing what you have. So if you wanted to do that, I just clicked outside of my highlight. If you wanted to try some different things on your name, but you didn't want to lose what you have, you want to keep what you have, what is it that you need in order to do that? I'd say a copy of this file would be useful. Because if you made a copy of the file, it would be identical. You'd have two of them. A copy of the whole file, then you'd have two in your folder. If you made a copy of the file, one could stay the way it is, and one you could experiment with, and you could change it. Or maybe you wanted to have two different possible versions. One that was, like in mine, is blue and red, and one that was, let's say, orange and green, with a different style, because for some reason you wanted to have both of them. This can be done, and this is a really important concept. In Microsoft Word, they call this Save As. You might have heard that before. In Microsoft Word, all Save As ever does is make a copy of the file or the document that you're working on. Simple idea. With Google Docs, they let you do the same thing. They just make it almost even more simple. They call it Make a Copy. Make a copy of what? Make a copy of this whole file. So you'd have two of them, and one you would make different than the other. So I'd like to walk you through this process. It's valuable, and I'll tell you why later. Okay, so if you want to make an identical copy of this whole file so that you have two of them, well, what are you making a copy of? The file. So if you're making a copy of the file, what are you going to click on? File. So what I'm saying is, go over here to your menu, and over here on your menu, there's the word file. Let's look at the options. As you look down the list, which is what our options are all about, the list, you have to read through all the items on the list. As you go down that list, there's a lot of things you can do on the File button. And if you get down on the fourth option, there it is, make a copy. Let's do it. Make a copy. Make a copy of this file. You click it. And what's the first thing they want you to do, of course? Well, they're telling you what the name of your copy is going to be. And notice that it's blue. So what does that mean? You haven't made the copy yet. They're saying what you should do is think about what the name of the copy will be. Now, right now, if you just say, go ahead and make the copy, they're saying that the name of the copy is going to be copy of your first GDocs lessons plan, which is fine. But that doesn't really tell me very much, because later on, tomorrow or next week, when I come into my file, all I know is one says copy of, one says GDocs lessons plan. And what if I made 3 different versions that had, like I had 3 copies, one's blue, one's red, one's green? How would you know which one is which if they all just said copy of? So when you make a copy of a file, what I always suggest is add a word to the name of the file that tells you what this is about, what the copy is all about, because the original is going to stay the way it is. So what's different about this copy? Well, it's still your first GDocs lesson plan, so I would keep that. So what I'm going to suggest is click in that name, get rid of copy of, but add at the end or in the beginning something that tells you what this is about. So in this case, what I'm thinking that this copy is all about a new style or a new color. So what I'm suggesting to you is keep the name of the file so that you know what it is, but then add something that tells you this is all about being a new style or a new color. That's the idea. Name your copies. Always name your copies. Always name your files clearly so that they know what you know what they're about when you go look for them in their folder. All right, where's it going to go? Same place. So you're not changing the location. It's telling you it's going into the same folder, Google Docs Lessons. So that sounds like you pretty much want to do it right now. Make the copy OK. If you click OK, notice that it opens up right away. Identical, right? It's an identical copy. How do you know it's a copy? Well, because here's your first one. This is the new one that opened up. I'm pointing to the tab up top. Right to the left of it is the one you just left, which looks exactly the same, but what's different about it? The name. This is the original. This one, I clicked on that second tab, is the new one. You see, this is the new one. This is the original. You have 2 of them. What can you do with the new one? I clicked on the new one now. You can do anything to it. Have you lost your first one? No, you haven't lost the original. It'll stay just the way it is, safe and sound. You could do anything you want to this new copy. And if it doesn't work, no problem. The original is still there. If it does work, great. You have both of them. This is the idea. So I'm going to make a change. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead, change the style. So how do you change your name? You got to highlight it first. This is a little quick review. Highlight it. And then maybe you go up top and you change the color of the letters. You're going to try some sort of purple. And then you're going to go over here and you're going to try the background color. That's the pen. And I don't know what goes well with purple. Maybe I'll try yellow. Oh, that's not so good. So I'm going to try maybe red. That's not such a good blend. See what I'm saying is you can experiment. I'm going to go with green. All right, that's okay. I'm going with green. But I also want to change the style. So the style box is over here. E.B. Jeremiah. I want to try something else. Try Comic Sans. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Do I like it better than the original one? I'm not sure. I'll go look at the original and I'll go look at this one. So what I'm saying is you can experiment. You can change. You can alter. You can have an entirely different version of the same document, the same file. You're free to do it because this is a free copy. So in Microsoft Word land, this is called Save As. With Google Docs, it's the same idea. You just make a copy, and I'll just go ahead and do something crazier than this. I'll do something like some sort of script. There's one, Pacifico. All right, maybe I like it better. Maybe I don't. Notice every time I do that, it saves the changes. So this new document has been saved as well. I've made a change. It's a new style. Now I've got 2, and they're not the same anymore. And I can decide which one I like better, or I can keep them both as being different versions. All right, so I hope you've done that. and you understand what I've just done. But here's why this is important. The fact that you can make a copy is super important because think about what you might end up doing with your resumes. When you're finished with your resume, when you send it out to different companies, different jobs, for different jobs, your resume sometimes should change a little bit to match that job, to make it more applicable to the job that you're applying to. If you have a lot of food service in your background, but you don't have that much food service on your resume now because you're looking for, I don't know, you're looking for landscaping work or something, but you got a really good opportunity for food service job, well, you don't want to just change the resume you have. It's good the way it is. It's perfect, but you want to add some food service, so why not make a copy of the resume? What are you going to call the new resume? The identical copy, food service resume. This was the original, which was for landscaping, but you didn't have enough food service on it. You made a copy. Now this resume, what are you going to call it? I'd call it resume food service. Now you made a copy. Now you can just make a few changes, add some food service, take away a couple bullets about landscaping, tailor your resume. You can do that without ruining the resume that you have. And now you can, and this way you can actually do 2 or 3 or 4 different versions of your resume, but you always can make a copy from the perfect one that you have. Save as, or making a copy of a file, is a vital concept when you're doing this kind of work in job search. Just remember that, okay? Your cover letters are going to be the same thing. Not every cover letter is going to be the same, but you're going to have a good one to start with. So you'll make a copy. Every time you send a cover letter out to a new job, you'll make a copy of it, and you'll make a few changes to match the job that you're searching for. That's the idea. Please keep this in mind for the future. All right, that's the first concept I wanted to throw at you. See, I told you we're going to keep busy. Concept number 1, save as or make a copy. All right, I'd like you to keep these files up. You've got 2, or keep at least one of them up. It doesn't really matter. I'll keep my new one up, and I'll close my old one. How do you close? You just hit the little X on the tab. So any one of these documents, each one of these documents, by the way, has a new address because every document is different. So this is always a weird thing to think about when you're in Google Docs, that your document is an address on the internet. I'm going to close the first one. I'm going to keep my new one up, and I'm going to go back to my drive, and I'd like you to go back to your drive. Now notice what's in your drive now. Do you see what happened? You've now got 2 files with the same name, but there's a new part to the name. One says your first GDocs lesson plan, one says your first GDocs lessons plan, maybe new color, new style. Can you tell them apart? Of course you can, because you named it carefully. You can probably picture what each one is: a little different style, a little different color, maybe maybe it's resumes. One resume is for construction, one resume is for food service, one resume is for healthcare, home health, one resume is for reception work. Each one could be a little bit different, but you can always tell what they are because you've named them carefully. All right, those are the files we left off on. We're gonna do some more work. So if you need a break, take a break, pause, but when you come back, we're going to do some work, and we're going to do some typing. So the next thing we're going to do now is I'm going to have you start a brand new file, a brand new Google Doc. These were old. This wasn't, I gave this to you. You worked on it already. It's done now, maybe. So you've worked on it already, but now you need to work on a new project. So you need a new file, a new Google Doc. So let's talk about how to create new things in this folder that you're containing your Google Docs lessons in. Same folder, this is where you are in your Google Docs lessons folder. And in here, I want you to create something new. What's the new thing? A Google Doc. Okay, I've taught you how to create new things in a folder, in your drive. I taught you 2 ways to do it. One is with your mouse and one is with a button. How do you create something new? Well, you've got the new button. Now, I taught you how to create folders, but you don't need a folder now, because all a folder does is hold stuff. You need a new Google Doc. So one click on the button, new, and what you see is the new things you can create are beyond just new folders. You can upload folders and files, but most importantly, down below, you see that you can create different kinds of files, and one of them being a Google Doc. Okay, I showed you how to do it with the button, but I'm not going to do it with the button right now. I wanted to remind you also of that right-click move. Don't forget, here's your space. You've got plenty of space. You got plenty of space in this folder, and this is your empty space. So in your empty space, if you right-click in your empty space, what do you get? A list, because you're in a space. These are what you can put in your space. And in your space, which is your Google Docs lessons folder, as you go down the list, you realize there it is, one new Google Docs. So every time you want to start a new project, a new letter, anything that you're going to write or type, if it's a new project, you need a new file. So you go new Google Doc, click it. All it wants to know is, do you want to create it? Yes. Do you want to share it? Well, yes, because it's in a shared folder, so it's going to be shared. So that's why it asks you that. So yes, you say create and share, and it's going to open up right away. So here is, right now, here's your new Google Doc. So it opened up in its own tab, and look what it's called, Untitled Document. That name is relatively useless, but that is the name of it right now. That's its own tab. Look over here. Here's that other file that you worked on. So it's still here, but it's a different file with a different name. So here you are, your new file, all right? So that's the name of it. Here's the address, and here is also the name of it. I think the title, Untitled Document, is useless, because if every file was named Untitled Document, how would you know which one was which? So my first lesson for you, please, when you create new things of all types, files, folders, please name it right away. Get into that habit, regular habit, name your file all the time. So what I'd like you to do is click in that name box. Click in the box. If it's all blue, you can start typing right away. If you're blinking, you'll have to erase the letters. But I'd like you to either erase those letters or start typing and name this My First Doc. My First, I'm writing it out in words, but you can write it out in, you can make it the number 1, First Doc, and that's short for document. That's the name of this exercise, My First Doc. Name your files. All right? Okay, so if you click outside the document now, you'll see it saved that change. The change is the name. It's a new name, new file, and this is going to be some new concepts. So I'm gonna have you create a relatively professional, fake professional letter. I'm gonna try and get through this as fast as I can, but you're gonna have to do some work. So please keep in mind that the work you do may make the video longer than it is, because you may have to stop, work, try, fail, succeed, correct, and fix. So this is gonna take longer than me speaking. Be ready to work. All right, so the first thing is, because this is professional, I want to point out a few things. If I start typing now, notice if you were about to type now, notice that the style would be something called Arial. That is a font style, and it would be size 11. It would not be bold because or italicized or underlined, because none of those are lit up, but it would be, and here I'm reminding you about alignment, it would be left aligned, which is why you're blinking on the left side. That's how you start off with a new document. That's what they give you. Arial size 11, left aligned. That's pretty much it. And if you need to see it bigger, please, when you start typing, don't change the size, zoom it up. Okay, that's what that zoom bar is for. Zoom it up, so don't mess with the Control Plus, because that actually changes the font size. All right, so first thing we're going to do is well, as quickly as we can, we need some contact information, but I'd like it to look better than Arial. I mean, Arial's all right, but I want to change the style before I type. I want it to be a little more professional. So I'm going to give you some suggestions before you even type of some styles that you might consider. You know, there's plenty of good styles. It's all about a judgment. I like E.B. Jaramond. I like Georgia. I think those are pretty professional. Georgia's pretty nice. Merriweather's all right. Sometimes it's a little light, but it's okay. Classic is Times New Roman, but it's a little out of date, but it's a total classic. So these are all possibilities. I'm going to choose Georgia for this exercise, but I'd like you to pick one of those before you type, because the point is, once you pick it, you can keep it. If you want to change it later, you can, but you can always change it before you type. Now, I'd like you to put your contact information up top. So I'd like you to try and get this done as fast as possible. The first line will be your name. Okay, so that's first line. All right, so you got your name, and now you need to get to the next line. So how do you get to a next? You haven't created the new line yet. So how do you get to the next line? You have to hit enter, because you got to leave this line and get to the and create a new one. So you hit enter. Now you've got a new line you can type in. All right. Second line is for your it's location. We're not doing street address anymore for professional addresses, professional letters and resumes, because there's no reason to give that kind of information up before they've even met you. There's no reason, especially with a resume, for them to think about whether they're going to hire you or not based on where you live. So for now, just the borough, state, zip will be enough, or your city and state if you're not in New York City. So Brooklyn for me, because I'm a Brooklyn boy. Brooklyn, NY. Now, after a comma, any punctuation mark, the space goes after the comma, period, after the period, after the X, any punctuation mark, there's always a space right after it, not before it, but always after it. Brooklyn, NY, and I'll just put the zip code for the Smith Street building in Brooklyn. Okay, that's line 2. Line 3 is for your phone number, your best phone contact. All right, so then you hit enter, and that will be for the phone number. Up to you how you want to write the phone number. Some people use dashes and parentheses. I'm just using dashes. All right, there's the phone number, and the last line is for your email. So how do you get to the last line? You hit enter. Please remember, emails have to be precise. You have to get every little detail right, every number that's in your email, every symbol that's in your email. You got to write it all out with no spaces ever. That's the rule of email. So D. Fleming at the program. Capitals make no difference with email addresses. 0. My email address is .org, but yours might be gmail.com. And notice what happens as soon as you hit enter. When you're finished with your email, it turns blue and underlined, which is not a style change. You didn't make it blue. You didn't highlight it and make it blue. You didn't highlight it and make it underlined. This is called a hyperlink. Your Google Doc automatically recognizes that as an email address. It will also do the same thing for internet addresses. It recognizes it as an email address and gives you the ability to click on it. That's what a hyperlink is. How did it recognize it being an email address? Because it's automatic. It did it automatically. It recognized it for 2 reasons. One is it saw that there was an @ symbol and a dot. So that told it that it must be an email address, because every email address has an @ symbol near the front and definitely a dot near the end. And there were no spaces. If there were any spaces in it, it would not think it was an email address, because there's never a space in an email address. All right, so once you've caught up and gotten this done, I want to talk about styling up a little bit. So I got a couple of inspirational ideas. One idea I have is that it would be nice if your name stood out. Bring up your name a little bit, make it stand out, highlight your name. So I'd like it to be bold. That's my idea. I'd like my name to be bold. So how do I make my name bold? How do you make your name bold? I'd like you to make your name bold. What's the first thing you do? You don't go to the bold yet, because Google doesn't know what you want to change. How do you let Google know what you want to change? Highlight it. So highlight your name. Remember, click hold, slide across, don't let go until you have exactly what you need. Then you let go, highlight your name, and go ahead, click bold, make your name bold. That looks pretty nice. That's my first inspirational idea. The other idea might be make your name a little bigger. That's the size box. You could try that. Maybe drop in 12, make your name stand out that way. These are just ideas. And when you want to look at it, you click outside. Okay, that's my first idea. My second idea is I'd like to center my contact information. I think that would be a nice stylistic touch. Have it dead center in the middle of the page. Just sort of like a lot of resumes have that, and sometimes letters do. It would be nice if all 4 lines were dead center. Now that's an alignment thing, right? So the alignment section is up here. It's left aligned, but you can't just click center now, because Google doesn't know what you want to center. So what do you want to center? All 4 lines. So what's your first move? Highlight all 4 lines. So how do you highlight multiple lines? All right, so you got 2 ways for it right now. You either click and hold from the bottom right and sweep up, or you click and hold from the top left and sweep down. It's pretty much the only way you're going to be able to do that with your mouse. From the bottom right or the top left, sweeping down or up. It's not going to work from any other corner or from the middle. It's got to be from the corner bottom right, or top left, down or up, all right? So you highlight all 4 lines because I wanted you to center them, so go ahead, that's the alignment section. Instead of it being left aligned, find those buttons and please click it as being center. Nice. Okay, next thing. What I want you to do is click right at the end of your email because that's really where you left off. I always want you to pick up where you left off because when you change things, you got to go back to where you left off to keep going because you want to keep everything intact. So you go to the end and now you're ready to move on. So you hit enter 2 times. And now you've got the makings for the next line. Okay, quickly. Why are you blinking in the middle? That's never happened before. That's never happened when you hit enter before. So why are you blinking in the middle? You're blinking in the middle because whatever you left off was in the middle. So you were in an email line that was centered. So therefore, when you hit enter, you're still centered because you haven't turned it off. If this was bold, you'd still be bold. If your email was italicized, you'd be still italicized. You are still Georgia and you're still 11 because that's how you left off. That's the rule of how you work with Google or Microsoft. You pick up where you left off, it stays the way you left off. But I don't want the rest of your document to be centered. So the next move is get it back to the left for the new line. So as you're blinking here on the new line, go ahead and align yourself back to the left. If this is moving too fast for you, keep hitting that pause button. Pause and rewind, pause and rewind. You have the ability, you can stop me. You can't do that in the classroom. All right, so you're left aligned. You can tell you're left aligned because of the blue button and you're blinking on the left. And at this point, what you need to do for this particular exercise, because I have a new concept to give you, is I want you to type the HOPE program. So the HOPE, we usually capitalize all the letters for some reason, program. That's all I want you to do, type the HOPE program. I got some ideas and some concepts for you. All right, so this is gonna be a spacing lesson. And I got some concepts that I want you to be able to think about that you've never probably thought about before. So what I want you to do on this line after you've typed the HOPE program is I want you to be clicked on the front of that line instead of at the end. So how do you click at the front of the line? Well, you bring your cursor to the front and you click, that's one way. Or of course, if you were at the end of the line, you could go to your arrows, as I mentioned before, and you can bounce over to the front of the line. All right. Here at the front of the line, this is what I want you to do. Now that you're blinking at the front of the line, don't do anything unless you're blinking at the front of the line. I want you to hit your space bar, the bar on your keyboard. I want you to hit that a few times, bump it, and notice what's going on. All right, so you may know this, or you may not know this, but you do notice that it is moving it over every time you hit it. How much does it move it over? By a little. Okay, now if you didn't know that, this might be a miraculous thing. Otherwise, this is just old hat. All right, so now you know. The space bar moves it over for some reason. Now I want you to go up and hit your backspace button on the top right. Notice what happens when you hit your backspace button. All right, everything moves left. I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to hit your space bar a lot of times, or even hold it, but don't go crazy because I don't want you to go to the second line. Bounce it over and leave it on the left side of the page, just like this. Don't go too far, just bounce it over using your space bar and leave it. The reason I want you to do this is I want to show you something, because this is what's going to happen to everybody when you're new to Google Docs or Microsoft Word. You're going to have things happen on your page that you're not going to quite understand that you'll need to fix. If you got distracted by a phone call right now, or you had to step away for half an hour and got completely distracted and came back to your document, and if you didn't remember the last thing you did, and you're looking at the HOPE program on the right side of your page, and you don't want it there, and you don't know why it's there, you'd have to know how to fix it. My instinct is to start hitting backspace, but let me show you something first. I'm going to show you something that you may never have realized before. I'm going to open up this picture that Microsoft, I can see because Microsoft lets me do this. So here's what you're looking at. Microsoft has a button called Show Hide. And this is the same, obviously the same work document. Here's the thing about Show Hide. When you click the button in Microsoft Word called Show Hide, this is what you see. You see more than what you typed. You see all these extra symbols. This is what show hide is showing you. It was hidden before, now it's showing you. So what is it showing you? What are these new symbols? Let's talk about them. What did you do at the end of your name and at the end of your place and date and at the place and zip code and your phone number and your email? What did you do? You hit enter. So what do you think that symbol is representing? It's showing you that you hit enter. What did you do on that blank line to get down to one more line below? You hit enter. So this is what that symbol is. It's showing you what you did not see or you may not have remembered. That's showing you that you hit enter. They call that the paragraph symbol because they call any line you hit enter from a paragraph. So my name is actually a paragraph because I hit enter from it. That's what that symbol is. But also notice, what you did not see before, but you do now, is a dot between my name, a dot between Brooklyn and New York, and between the zip code in New York. What did you do in between your name and between Brooklyn and New York? You hit the space bar. Those dots are showing you that you hit the space bar, because here's the thing about space bar. Space bar actually does take up space, just like letters, numbers, and symbols do. This is what's nice about show hide. Now you know how and why the whole program is on the right side of the page, because you may have forgotten that you hit the space bar and moved it over to the right and took up all that space with the space bar. You see, the space bar, when you hit it, actually takes up space. You lay down space, one little chunk at a time. Now that you can see it, you can see why when you hit backspace, it goes back by one chunk at a time, because that's the space that you need to eat up going back. So when I come back to my page, this is something that you can possibly start visualizing in the future, because here's the thing about Google Docs and Microsoft Word when you're normally typing. Everything else is invisible. Everything in the background is invisible. So you have to understand how to visualize what's actually happening besides the letters and numbers that you're typing. When you put spacebar down, you did lay down space. So why does backspace fix it? Because when you backspace, what are you eating up? You're eating up the space going back. So that's how you would fix the problem, and that's why it looks the way it does. Spacebar does take up space. Now, as I go back, sooner or later, I'm gonna run out of room. If I hit spacebar one more time too much, it goes back up, because that's the end of the line, and that's the next space that it's got to eat up, which is the line that you hit enter to before it. So if you go too far, you're going to have to move it down again by hitting the enter button to move it down, because it's moving it down by one line. That's what enter always does. All right, that's the first thing I wanted to show you, that there are things that happen in Google Docs and Microsoft Word that are invisible, and that's very difficult sometimes for people to imagine and how to work with. Let's try something else. I want you clicking right before the P of program. Thank you. Right there, right there. Move your arrow or click right before program. When you are blinking right before the word program, here's what I want you to do. I want you to hit the tab key on your keyboard, which is on the top left, tab. Sometimes it has two arrows on it as well. Bump that a couple times. Notice what happens. It's bumping over, but it's bumping over by larger chunks. Would you agree? All right, that's sort of interesting. So what happens when you hit backspace? Well, you would think what it's going to do is what it did before, but in a way, no, it didn't. Now you hit backspace, it goes back by chunks, and when you hit tab, it goes over by chunks, but larger chunks. All right, here's what I want you to do. Leave program at the right side of the page using your tab key. Hit the tab key, leave program on the right side of the page. Okay, now, again, if you came back to your document and you couldn't understand what was wrong with your page, you don't want program on the right side of the page, you don't understand how to fix it, my instinct as usual is to hit backspace, but let me show you why. When I go back here and I show you this other picture, I want you to see this. Notice what's new here. I hit show hide in Microsoft Word, same document. Notice what you see. What are these symbols? Arrows, what are they representing? Tab. So tab takes up space too. You're laying down space when you hit the tab key. You're just not just moving things, you're actually putting space in that's invisible. What kind of space? Tab space. Now you can visualize what's happening when you hit tab. You're tabbing in space. So why does backspace work? because when you go backspace, you're eating up the tab space and it's larger chunks at a time. So just to remind you, when you go back to your document, now you can visualize that you've got the tabs in there. When you backspace, this is why it looks the way it does, and this is what you would do to fix it. If you go back too far, by the way, what are you going to eat up? Letters before it. So I just made a mistake. Do I have to retype everything? You're going to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. I just made a mistake. I just ate up 4 letters that I didn't want to eat up. So when you make a mistake, there is no need necessarily to go ahead and redo something that you already did. You've got a really, really, really nice software gift. Virtually every software program has what's known as undo. So if you just go ahead and erase a few letters by mistake, go ahead and do it. I promise you this is going to work out. Erase some things by fake mistake. Now, this is a mistake that you just made. I just made it. So the undo feature is wonderful. What it lets you do is take a step back in time till when times were good. And that was just really just about 1 step ago. I made one mistake a step ago. So this is called the undo feature. And you've got 2 ways to use it. These 2 arrows up top, left curly and right curly. This left one is your undo button. So when you click the undo button, you just fixed your mistake. It took you back a step in time. So now you don't have to worry about retyping. Undo is a beautiful thing because you can make a massive mistake too. And as soon as you make a big mistake or a small mistake, that little arrow is your savior, right? You click the arrow, but I got an even better way. I'm gonna make a mistake again. I just erased the letters again. I made a mistake. I'm gonna give you a shortcut. I've given you one shortcut to blow up your screen. That was Control+. These control shortcut keys are great. So what I'm saying is, with your left hand, hold down your CTRL control button on the left side of your keyboard. Hold it down with your left hand, don't let go. The shortcut for undo is as you're holding down control, you tap Z. Control Z, undo. It's even easier than clicking the arrow. You make a mistake, Control Z, fixed. All right, and if you made a mistake a long time ago, you can hit Control Z as many times as you want. If you made a mistake 6 steps ago, you hit Control Z 6 times, and you'll be back to where you were 6 steps ago. Same thing with the arrow. Every time you hit undo, you go back a step. All right, so that was a lesson in spacing, tabbing, spacebar. How do you fix the space? How do you visualize it? And it was a lesson in what do you do when you make a mistake? Undo. All right. Next concept. Take a break anytime you need. Click at the end of program. Next idea is going to be when you click at the end of program, blinked at the end of the line, I want you to hit enter twice for a new line because we're going to cover a new concept quickly. Now, I'm not going to have you write out a whole sentence or anything, but I do want you to address somebody because I want this to look like a letter. So, dear somebody, dear, I'm going to say hiring manager, but you can write anybody. I don't care who you write. Dear hiring manager, dear mom, dear friend, whoever. Dear somebody, comma. It's a letter, so then you hit enter twice. All right, first sentence. All right, the first sentence could be, this is a sentence. This is your first sentence. This is my first Google sentence, or just this is a sentence. I don't care. Just write something simple. This is your first sentence. Okay, it's a letter. There's your first sentence. Whatever you wrote is fine. Enter twice for the next concept. All right, so now that you're on an empty line, what I want you to do is I want you to pick any letter you want and just hold it and don't let go. Pick a letter and hold it and don't let go. All right, keep holding it. All right, you get my point here. At some point, all right, let it go. 3, 4, 5 lines, let it go. So why did I show you this? I didn't show you this because I wanted to show you that it's a miracle that you can repeat the letter by holding it. What I wanted to show you is that when you're writing a sentence, and you start getting towards the end of the page, you don't have to panic. You don't have to stop and hit enter. When you're just writing and writing sentences and you get to the end of the page, Google knows where the end of the page is. That's called wraparound text. It just wraps around. You don't have to worry about it. It knows where the end is, and it knows where the beginning is. This is known as border lines. Every Google Doc has border lines. It has a front border, and it's got a border line at the end. End border, front border. This makes it look neat, and it also lets you just keep writing. So I wanted to show you that, and I could show you real quick how to change that. You could change where the border line is. You can see where the end is here and the beginning is here. But if you go up to your ruler, where you see those numbers, this is your ruler, which also shows you where the border lines are. So where the white part, that's where you can type, that's the active part. When you hit the gray part, that's your inactive part. That line between the white and the gray is your border line. If you slide across that line between the white and the gray and it turns into a double arrow, what you can do, and I wouldn't do this until you're done with your document personally, but if you wanted to change, if you wanted the border line to be further out, you would click and hold with that double arrow and stretch it out. And now you have a wider border. Or you bring it back for a shallower border. You can always change the border line, front border. Same thing with the front border. The front border is double arrow if you want it to be back a little bit. If you needed more space, you can always drag it out and make it a different border line. That's one thing. You also have a top border. That's what your left ruler is for, all the way on the left side. Left side has where the white meets the gray. That's the top border. That's why David Fleming isn't all the way on the top of the page, because the top of the page is right here. If I click and hold on the line between the white and the gray, I can make the border line higher. I wanted you to know that. Same thing with the bottom border. You have the ability to change it. Don't worry too much about it, but I wanted you to see that. Wrap around text. It knows where the end is. It looks nice and neat, and you don't have to hit enter if you don't need to. But now you do. Hit enter twice. New concept and the last concept. Last concept is lists in a professional letter or resume. You know it's a list because you see the symbols in front of each item of the list. This is known as bullet points. So you've seen bullet points on resumes. I know you've invariably seen bullets everywhere. Bullet points are just made to make the list clear and it looks professional. And the item could be a number, one bullet point, 1, 2, 3, 4, could be letters A, B, C, D, or they could be symbols, different kinds of symbols. I would like you to add a bullet point because I'd like you to see what a list would look like, because you're going to be doing that in your resumes. All right, so here you are in a fresh new line. Now I need to show you how to get your first bullet point turned on. So that's up top too, on your ribbon. So it's up here is your alignment section, which we've worked with before. And then you go to the right, and the next grouping here is the bullet grouping. The first one where you see the numbers, that's the numbered bullets, which I don't want to use right now. The next group of lines, the 3 lines with dots next to them, those are your symbol bullets. And if you just click on the lines with the 3 dots, you'll get a simple bullet point. If you click on the arrow, you'll see all the different symbols you could try. This is different triangle, white squares, arrows, stars. I would like you to choose just the simple one, so that in that case, all you have to do is hit the 3 lines one time with the dots, and what you have is your first bullet point. It's a simple thing to do. You've just turned it on. You've got your first indented bullet point. It's got like a black dot. You're now blinking. You're ready to go to type your first list item. What I'd like you to do really quickly, this is simple, pick another letter, any letter, I don't care, and hold it at least 2 lines. And notice what happens on the second line. So what do you see on the second line? It keeps that new borderline indented. It looks nice and neat and separate from the other section. So that's what every bullet point is arranged like. It's got its own indent. That looks really neat. And what I want you to do now is get to the next list item, and all you have to do is hit enter 1 time. When you hit enter, notice what happens. A new bullet. That's never happened when you hit enter before. Why did it happen this time? It happened this time because you never turned it off. That's why you got a bullet when you hit enter. You're in bullet mode. You can see up top, it's still on. So basically that's how it works. You're not really gonna ever just have one list item. You're gonna have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. That's why they make it easy for you. Once you turn it on, every time you hit enter, you get the next one. So you can do another letter, hold another letter. Doesn't have to be more than 1 line. hit enter again. I'd like you to add about 4 bullet points with different letters. This is just a real quick exercise. All right, enter, bullets, one more maybe, and then hit one last bullet, enter, and leave it. You have one last empty bullet. I know you're pausing, I know you're stopping, I know you're messing up. If you have any problems with this exercise later on, you'll ask me about it, I'll walk you through it. So as many times as you pause, that's fine with me. Pause whenever you want to, but now you're on an empty bullet for the last time you hit enter from a bullet line. So you don't need this last bullet. So how are you going to get rid of this last bullet? There's 3 ways, very simple ideas. My first idea is just go up top. Now that you've got an empty bullet that you don't need, while you're in the empty bullet, just go up top and turn it off. Click it. All right, it's either, the bullet mode is either on or off. So when you turn it off, now you're back to normal. That's one way you can do it. The other way you can do it is you can blast right through it with backspace, because backspace will eat up the space to the left. So you hit backspace a couple times, you've gotten rid of your bullet. All right, and then one more, I'm hitting undo right now because I just consider myself making a mistake. The other way you could get rid of your bullet is to hit enter, because you're basically creating a new line. So basically that's it for the letter, except you haven't signed off yet. So hit enter a couple times. You've learned about bullet points. You've learned how to turn them on and off. You've learned how to get a new one. And the last thing you do is sign off on this letter. So you can say sincerely. You can say yours truly. You can say thank you very much. You can say respectfully yours. You can say whatever, however you want to sign off. I'm going to say sincerely yours. That's old school. And when you sign off, then you got to put a comma. And then, of course, you hit enter 2 or 3 times, because what are you going to do last? You're going to sign your name, David Fleming. It's a lot of work, a lot of typing, but look what you've done. And it's saved as you worked. All your changes have been saved. That's what it says up here. It's been saved. So all your work is done. And I know this is a bunch of nonsense. This is not a real letter. It looks kind of ridiculous, but here's what it does also look like. It looks good. Would you agree, as you take a step back? This looks pretty good. Why does it look good? Because it's got format. You've been formatting all along. What do I mean by format? Well, look at your center, look at your heading up here. Perfectly dead center. Nice. Your name is bolded, even a little larger. That's a format. Looks good. What else is formatted? You got space between the sections. Most letters aren't all grouped together. If everything's all grouped together, it doesn't look as professional. You got a section, you got a little space between each section. That's got some style. It looks good. Border lines, everything's straight up and down. Google Docs, Microsoft Word makes everything look good. It's neat. Bullet points, indented, straight up and down. That looks good. It's a format. How you do your sincerely yours on the bottom, a little space. This is a nice looking business letter, and it's really a bunch of nonsense. Point being here is Google Docs can make anybody look good. All you got to do is understand that as you type, anything can be changed. In fact, here's an idea and a new concept. Let's say you've decided you don't like Georgia style. You want to try another style. You want to make the entire letter a different style. Well, if you're going to change the whole letter, what do you got to do? You got to highlight the whole letter, right? Because Google doesn't know you want to change the whole letter. So how do you highlight the whole letter? Well, you could use your mouse. You can click and hold and sweep up, but sometimes, a lot of times when you do that, then you didn't do the whole thing. You got to do it again and again and again. So I got a trick for you. When you want to highlight the entire thing, I got a little trick for you. Another keyboard move. Control again. Left hand. Hold down Control. While you're holding down Control, you want to highlight all of it? All of it. Control A. A for all. Tap A. Hold down Control. Tap A 1 time. There you go. Guaranteed. Highlights the entire document. Even if this was 600 pages long, everything would be highlighted. Nothing's left out. Even the bullets that don't look like they're highlighted. Everything's highlighted. So Control A is another shortcut. All right. And that shortcut is nice because now you can try right away a different style. You want to try Garamond? Try Garamond. You want to try Arial like we had it before? Try Arial. You see why I changed it? It's boring. So then if you want to go back to Georgia, sure. My point is, anything can be changed. Anything. One more idea. before I exhaust you. And I love this one. One more concept. Anything in a document can be copied. Anything. Why would you copy something in a document? Well, maybe you don't want to have to type it again, but you want to put the copy of whatever you've highlighted somewhere else. Whatever you've copied, you just want to put it somewhere else. So here's what I want you to do real quick. What I'm thinking is you want to put some style to your name on the bottom. So you're going to erase your name for a second and leave your cursor blinking there. Here's what I want you to do. You remember how you had that other document up before? The first document that we had your name all styled up, it's still up there. If it's not, I want you to go back to your folder and open it. Your first GDocs lesson plan. I just went to it. My name's all styled up. Let's say you have this brainstorm. What you want is that name all styled up at the bottom of your letter. This is going to look pretty crazy, but still, this is my idea. You want that on the bottom of your letter. I think that's a great idea. But you're going to need to copy it, aren't you? Because you're not going to be able to recreate that. You'll need to copy it. So what do you think you got to do first to copy it? You got to highlight it. All right, so my idea is go ahead, highlight that fancy name. Now, how are you going to copy it? You got 3 ways. One is you can get right on top of it, most likely, and right-click it. Most likely, if you right-click right on top of the highlighted name, you'll see this menu. There it is. On the menu, what you can do is, one thing you can do is copy it. All right, you copied it. Believe me, you copied it, even though you don't see anything. Another thing you can do is you can go to your edit button because you're now making a change. So you go to edit, there's copy. Click on copy. Done. And one more way you can copy whatever's highlighted. I'm going to make sure it's highlighted. With the keyboard, to copy something, Control. While you're holding Control, C for copy, Control, tap C, one time. That's it, Control C. You've copied whatever is highlighted. Any one of those 3 ways will have just copied what you just highlighted. But here's the thing about copying. You don't see your copy when you copied it. You made it, I promise you, you copied. What did you copy? Whatever you highlighted. You copied your name, just the way it is. You've copied it, but the copy isn't visible. Where's the copy? The copy, when you copy something on a computer, is sitting in the background on what they call the clipboard. It's sitting back there. But what is it waiting for? Why is it sitting in the background? Because you got to put the copy someplace else. It's waiting for you to put that copy where you want to put it. That's called paste, which is why you always hear copy, paste together, because you're never going to copy something without pasting that copy in the place that you wanted to put it. So where did you want to put it? Place it, paste it. Copy, paste, you wanted to paste it in the other document. So how do you get there? You go back to your other document. Where did you want to paste it? Where you're blinking on the bottom. If you're not blinking, I want you clicking down there where your name should be. How are you going to paste it? Well, right-click doesn't work in Google Docs for pasting. So forget right-click just for pasting. Yes, you can go to edit and hit paste, but I think much cooler, the much far easier way to paste anything. They don't have, Control P will not work because you would think maybe there's a control move. There is, but Control P is for print, so no, not P. So since P was already taken by print, they gave you the letter right next to C. C is for copy, they gave you the letter right next to C, V. Control V is the cleanest, simplest, fastest way to paste whatever you've copied anytime, anytime, anytime. Control V, think of V like a point. This is where you're gonna paste it. So hold down Control V, hold down Control, sorry, and then tap the letter V and notice what happens at that spot. Well, what I copied was centered. That's why it's centered. Could I change that? Yeah. Centered left. Anything can be copied, and then you can paste it somewhere else. You could have pasted that into an email. You could still paste that in an email because it's still on the clipboard. I put the copy in here. It's still on the old document. It's still on it's here in my document, but it's also on my clipboard. If I wanted to go send that in my email, if I wanted to share that with somebody, I'm going to share that with me. You can do this. You can send me your signature. I wouldn't mind seeing it. What's the subject? signature, or copy paste, signature, copy paste. That's the subject. I addressed myself. You could address me, signature, copy. And what did you want to do? You wanted to paste your signature into the email. So what do you have to do? Click in your email. How do you paste it? Same way. Control, tap V. Send it. I told you I was going to keep you busy. Go back to your document that you're working on, your business letter. I hope you have learned a lot. That's a lot to take in. That was a lot of work. But at this point now, you are primed to do your resumes and your cover letters. You're set. That'll be the next lesson. Have a great day.